Hi, my name's Katie Nardi, and this is going to be my family history story. But first, here's my audience.
Hi. Hi.
And over here.
Hi.
Okay, so some background on my story. This story is about my mother when she was a little girl living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So this story is called The Bike Incident. When my mother was little, in first grade, she and her older sister, Aunt Sandy, went out for a bike ride. My Aunt Sandy decided to cut over the grass, and my mother went around the street and down the hill. They were racing to the nearby ice cream shop for ice cream that day. But during their race, as my mother was going down behind Aunt Sandy, she hit a rock and tumbled to the ground, and the bike handle hit her in the eyeball. My Aunt Sandy was about in third grade during this time, so she freaked out. She ran over to Mother saying, Lynn, are you okay? And my mother didn't reply. She just laid on the ground with her eye closed. So my Aunt Sandy ran all the way back home up the hill to the house, burst open the front door yelling, Mom and Dad, Lynn's dead. Lynn is dead. She's not moving. So my grandparents got up out of their chairs and ran downtown to see what was going on. They found my mother laying by her bike, but definitely conscious, just really out of it. So they picked her up and walked her back home and laid her on the couch. When they got home, my mother's other three sisters gathered around her, trying to figure out what was going on. And she was just laying on the couch with her eye closed, and she couldn't see my grandparents. They got a little worried over this, so they decided to pick her up and take her into the car, lay her in the back seat, and go find their doctor. When they got in the car, my grandmother decided to repeat a little prayer for my mom that they had said since she was little. I'm going to do this repeat after me style. So, Angel of God, my guardian dear.
Angel of God, my guardian dear.
To whom God's love commits me here.
To whom God's love commits me here.
Ever this day be by my side.
Ever this day be by my side.
To light and guard, to rule and guide.
To light and guard, to rule and guide.
So as my grandmother said this, she prayed for my mom while they went to go find the doctor. As she was driving, she realized that the doctor was probably at church that day because it was about 9 a.m. on a Sunday. So instead of driving her to the hospital, they drove straight to church to try to find their doctor. As they waited outside church for the doctor to come out, they just checked on my mother, making sure she was okay. When the doctor came out, he came over and looked at my mother, placed his hand on her, and thought maybe she's just asleep. But he did see her black eye and was a little worried that she wasn't that responsive. So he sent my grandparents, my mother, and her older sisters to the hospital after church that day. When they got to the hospital, they admitted her into a room and diagnosed her with a concussion and a severe black eye. They decided to have my mother stay in the hospital for a few days to watch her. But as my mother stayed in the hospital bed, when she looked out the window, she could see her school and all of her friends playing at recess. So, because her friends were so generous, they decided to bring her homework to her so she could work on her homework in the hospital instead of in the school for the next couple of days. My mother recovered and she started to feel better, but she really at first didn't like having all of the doctors around her in their white coats. As time went on, she realized that it was kind of a fun job to become a doctor. You get to work with patients and kids and really help people get better. So time went on and my mother healed, and as she left the hospital, she came home to a giant box in her room. And when she opened the box, she found that her father had bought her the biggest Barbie car in all of the stores. She was very excited by this, and it made her older sisters quite jealous. Then my mother returned to school, not behind on her schoolwork, and felt a lot better. But in the end, my mother realized as she grew up that she really liked the doctors. She loved their white coats and that they still were helping people, so she decided that she wanted to go to school and become a doctor as well. So when she grew up, and she ended high school, she went into college and then into medical school and decided to become a doctor as well. So in the end, the injury was not fun for my mother, but it's how she found out to do what she wanted to do. The end. Thank you.